What's up? What's up, good people? What's happening? We are back. We talk about some NBA playoffs. It just seemed like the first round is too long, Pen. That's what we are here to talk about tonight. NFL draft is coming up. You got a chance to see some spring football, but we gonna, first things first is this NBA playoffs.
Yeah, yeah, NBA playoffs.
The first round. The first round. I think they need to take some cues from the play-in game.
Yeah, yeah, it's much more exciting. Um, I mean, now granted, I know we don't watch NBA throughout the year no more like we did when it was fantastic. I know that, but like I spent a lot of the first game of the series just kind of familiarizing myself with the rosters, seeing who was out there, who's a rotation guy, who's a star, who they trying to give the what we call it, the Disney, the ESPN Disney push. I'm trying to see all of that.
Yeah.
And then just a whole totally other subject is where the hell the game's at? Like we
Yeah,
don't.
yeah. They are all over the place with the games. Peacock, Amazon, ABC, NBC. Take your pick. If you got it, you got it. But it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see the ratings on these games throughout the playoffs. Personally, I think they need to shorten the first round,
For
and
sure.
I think it would be more competitive if they would take the cues from the play-in games. Um, I would like to believe that the play-in games got a little bit more, a few more views than the first round games themselves in the actual playoffs. And then another thing, the blowouts that seem to happen in game one. And this is another reason why I think they should shorten the first round of the playoffs, because there has to be a certain sense of urgency when the playoffs roll around. Then you have the load management series. Which series am I talking about? The Los Angeles Lakers
Yeah.
and the Houston Rockets. Now, Luka Doncic didn't play in game one, neither did Kevin Durant. Also, I like to add, this is the first round of the playoffs. They're already getting an extra day off between games.
Yeah.
That's the load management playoff series. Now, if you want to throw your Walt Disney in there, you can throw LeBron James playing in a playoff game with his son,
Right.
Bronny James.
Yeah.
Bronny James, for 3 minutes, 0 points, 0 assists, 0 rebounds. I think he had one turnover. And there's another zero I'm missing in there somewhere. I
Nope.
don't remember. So, look, you got your storylines, but I wonder if people are actually watching these games. One of the more favorable matchups, in my opinion, the Timberwolves and the Nuggets. This was a potential conference finals years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
The Timberwolves beat them in the second round.
Yes, yes, yeah. To get to the conference finals years ago, the year after the Nuggets won the championship.
And the
Now,
Timberwolves lost to Dallas after that in the conference finals. Yeah.
now tonight, the Raptors tip off with the Cavaliers. You can find that. I guess you can find that on NBC Sports. I don't know.
Your
I don't know.
guess as good as mine. It say NBC on here, but NBC got every game tonight. I mean, it's just.
I think that Raptors Cavaliers game is got to be on another channel, because NBC is also supposed to carry the Hawks and Knicks, which is another game that starts an hour after that one, and then the nightcap will be the Timberwolves and Nuggets at 9:30 our time, Central Time. So it's just the games all over the place. Are people actually watching the games? That's the problem. Now, typically, you know me, I would like to see them shorten these playoffs, the first round, to 5 games. Since you already got the play-in games, and now all of a sudden you got this, you got load management already in the series over with the Lakers and the Houston Rockets. We know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Luca out, Durant out, LeBron get to pad his stats a little bit more, look good without Durant being on the other side. You know, the level of competition going up. What exactly is Durant's injury?
He banged his knee up. I heard at practice. That's the story they came out with. That's what they said. He banged knees with somebody at practice, and then they scratched him like an hour before tip off.
Okay. So now the interesting thing is, will Kevin Durant be available for game 2 on Tuesday night? Now I think they kicked this series off on Saturday. They're getting an extra day off. And the question is, will maybe even Luca and Kevin Durant take the floor on Tuesday night in game 2 of this series with the Houston Rockets and the Lakers? The Lakers up one in this series. Um, the games we have tonight, like I said, the Raptors and uh, Cavaliers. Cavaliers up one. Hawks and Knicks. The Knicks are up 1-0. And the Denver Nuggets are up 1-0 on the Timberwolves. One of the more interesting game ones that I seen was Detroit and Orlando. Orlando coming off the defeat off of defeating Charlotte, going into game 1 into Detroit and winning game 1 in Detroit in impressive fashion. Pablo Banchero had a very good game in that game, I want to believe. But um, man, like you said, it's hard to find the games. Um, Typically, I won't really want to watch the first round, but since that's our job and we got to do it, and I think the people want to know what we think about it, if
So
they
we got
really care.
yeah. So we gotta
What
watch.
you got to say?
We gotta watch. Yeah. I mean, we got spoiled, and I'll say this. Change is inevitable. But we got spoiled with TNT. Remember 40 games and 40 nights? We
Yeah,
knew what the game was. If it was a weekday night, we knew what the game was. TNT. Tuesday night, TNT. Wednesday night, TNT. And then on the weekends, especially in the first round, that's when you would get ESPN probably picking up some games. You One of the lower level series, you might have them on NBA TV, like the Cavs Raptors might be on NBA TV tonight. Then the Knicks come on, the real channel or whatnot. But
hmm
I mean, just they load manage all season. Then they play the playing game. Then they come into the playoffs and they play a 7 game series. They already talking about the season too long. That seemed like an easy fix to go back to 5 games. I mean,
yes,
I'm we can look at the bracket right now, and I'm telling you what series is gonna go 7. Lakers Rockets gonna go 7 because they got to stretch LeBron and Durant out as far as they can. Because this is probably like the end of that superstar era. So we gonna get 7 games of that. Nuggets and Timberwolves probably going 7 because I mean they kind of evenly matched to me, and that's kind of a rivalry. So we're gonna get that going 7, and then we're gonna get Orlando and the Pistons going 7 games. Everything out of that, Celtics, 76ers, the fans should be able to write in a team because the 76ers they'll probably go down in 5. They may get a game at home, but outside of that, the Trailblazers gonna get swept by the Spurs. The Suns, we should be able to write Golden State in so we could just see Steph and Steve Kerr and Draymond one last time because they gonna get swept. Cavaliers, Raptors, who cares about that unless you in Cleveland and Toronto? Like, and then the Knicks and the Hawks. I mean, I feel like the Hawks just happy to be there.
yeah, and that's all the reason for these series should be 5 game series right now in the first round. Now, just remember, I remember two of the better 5 game series that I can remember was the year that the Seattle Supersonics defeated the Denver Nuggets.
No, the other way around. Denver
The
came
Denver
back
Nuggets,
to
yeah, the
Seattle.
Denver Nuggets defeated the Supersonics in 5. Was it in 5 games?
Yeah.
And that was an upset. And then in '89, the Bulls, game 5, Mike hit the shot against Elo. those are two of the most memorable 5 game series that I can remember.
Knicks
And I
Heat in '99. That was a slugfest. The year the Knicks was the eighth seed and went to the finals.
Okay. See that I'm just saying those are the two I remember. That one I kind of forgot about, but because I can't remember how long they've been playing 7 games in the first round. But I would really like to see them go back to 5 games in the first round. Um, that's not gonna happen because they getting the money. But I just wanted to throw it out there. I think it would be more competitive in game one because at some point you have to think either Phillies that bad, or did they just mail it in?
I think it's more of a mail it in situation. Like, okay, well, we won the playing game. Now we not gonna beat Boston, so we just gonna show up and get our playoff check and one, two,
Yeah,
three Cancun after that. I mean, and beat
yeah,
out Tyrese Maxey. I'm sure he'll put up numbers, but can he beat Tatum, Brown? And I mean, they won 54 games without Tatum for he only played like
yeah,
17 games.
yeah. And now he back. Some will say he's back to true form. He was the leading scorer against the Sixers in game one, and they still giving the props to Jalen Brown, but
There's
Jason
so many
Tatum, he
blowouts.
really stepped up in this game.
It was so many blowouts. Well, that's kind of like a microcosm of the season. We see so many blowouts. It's pretty much whichever team is hot from three, they probably gonna win the game going away by, dare we say, 15 or more. It's a lot of games where you see it's 136 to 108. And I thought this was playoff basketball. I thought we tightening up. The
Yeah,
intensity is going up. So I would
should
expect
be.
scores to come down a little bit
Yep,
because it's harder to score. And we really not seeing it. So
yep.
I mean, like I said, Adam Silver, that's my least favorite commissioner. He got a lot of holes to fill. I think they gonna try and trot out that the NBA there's ratings for the season was up this year, and they're gonna try and parade that out. But I mean, you just look at the game; it's a lot of holes that needs to be fixed. And going back to 5 games again, that cures load management. They already saying the season too long. You starting the season damn near what middle of October now, going all the way to the second week of April, and then the finals because they already got what the final start. I know they got a date for June
June is
June
always
3rd.
like the first week of June.
June 3rd is
The
game one.
NBA playoffs will take over 2 months, and that's the reason why they need to shorten it. They talking about shortening the season. No, shorten the playoffs, and you might benefit in the viewers a little bit better. I think more people will watch it, especially the first round.
Why do we got a mandated date on when the final start? It say June 3rd. That's gonna be game one. So if they sweep every round, the final's not gonna start the June 3rd. That's just idiotic. Like
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't mind them having a set date to start the finals. But let's do something about the first round. Let's make the first round more competitive because you can't go into game one of the first round saying, well, and you down big in the first quarter and there's no fight in the second and third because you mailing it in just to get the game two. And then when you look at the Lakers and the Rockets, you got Luca not participating in game one. You got Durant not participating and not participating in game one. If this was the best of five, I would think that both of those guys would have been playing in game one, which makes it more competitive and makes it more entertaining for the fans because that's who the people want to see. I know we got LeBron, I know we got Bronny, but people want to see Luca, they want to see Kevin Durant. And now you're getting to the point where we load managing playoff games. And that's just how I see it. It's not a good look. Shrink this first round. And game one, the game two, game three will be highly competitive. You're out in three. And that's just how I see it.
yeah, I mean
Hey, we didn't even mention the blowout that happened with the defending champs. The Thunder blowout the Suns 119-84. That's another series that you may think would be maybe a sweep. The game I'm watching, the first 5 minutes of the game what's the guy name for the Suns?
Who you talking
Uh,
about? Devin Brooks?
Devin Brooks. Dylan Brooks,
Devin
that's his
Booker.
name.
Yeah, Devin Booker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Brooks is
Devin Brooks.
look. Brooks.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Not the main guy. I'm
Yeah.
talking about the guy that kind of play like Robin.
Yeah. Dylan Brooks. Yeah.
Yeah, Dylan Brooks. The first 5 minutes of the game, he just bringing on the physicality, bringing on and complain. I'm like, come on, man. And then end result, they get beat 119-84. See, you
Sweet.
took your team out the game in game one immediately. With all these antics. Now, if it was a 5 game series, you wouldn't have time for that. Got to hit the floor running. Let's play ball. Let's get these series over. Now, when you think about the rest factor, you get this series over, give you a chance of rest. Give yourself a chance to rest. That's only the first round. I don't mind a semester seven out of in the semis and in the conference finals, but I do not. They need to shorten this first round because I think people, even the people watching the playoffs, they might even take game one off to
Yeah.
because you got to settle into it. You know what I mean? I believe the ratings may pick up in game two, game three. Another reason why this series probably needs to be shortened in the first round. That's all I got for it. Now. You then picked your winners and losers in these first round of the NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
Um,
I just put my Walt Disney hat on it and looked at it. Because we got to get Cade versus Spider Mitchell. That's got to happen. They need them ratings.
ultimately, I think in the East, people want to see the Pistons and the Celtics in the conference finals. I believe that's what they want. I think that might be the most competitive finals,
No, they want the
conference
Celtics
final.
in the Knicks, but they on the same side of the bracket though.
Yeah, I mean, we'll eventually see that. I believe we'll see that, but I don't think the Knicks. You might be right, but I don't think the Knicks bring the same amount of interest
I mean, they
as
got the
Detroit.
biggest.
I
They
think Detroit's a better team. I think
they are, but it's New York, baby, and they got the biggest cheerleader on ESPN first take every day, orange and blue skies. You know what I'm saying? So, but we gonna get that matchup in the second round though. So
yeah, yeah. But I think ultimately it'd be the Celtics and the Pistons. I think the Pistons will come back. You got them in seven. I agree with that. I think they'll take Orlando out in seven as well. But that was a really good competitive game. In the game with the game one between the Spurs and the
Trail,
Portland Trailblazers, that was a decent game. I struggled to feel the rhythm of that game. Wembanyama had
35.
the I think he had the best rookie debut for a Spur, and that's saying a lot when you talk about Tim Duncan, David Robinson,
Tony Parker, Ginobili.
Tony Parker. Yeah, those guys. For him to have set a record in his debut as his debut, not rookie, but his
Playoff
debut
game.
in the playoffs. I believe that's a great accomplishment for him, and I do believe he'll be now. SGA then stepped it up too, so SGA might be running away with that MVP again. I'm starting to get a lot more buzz for him. Hear a lot more buzz for SGA being MVP, but I do think Wembanyama is a close second.
Yeah, yeah. It ain't Wimby's time just yet. Is didn't Joker win like he won back to back? I don't know if he won 3 out of 4, but
I think he did go back to back, and then
yeah, for sure back to
and
back.
then Embiid kind of won one, and it kind of let everybody down in the postseason, and maybe even the voters even regret even giving it to him. But Embiid did, Joker did win two in a row, and then Embiid followed him up with that one. He was in the running for a third, but Embiid got it.
Yeah, SGA he go. I mean, with the injuries that OKC had this year, they wasn't really whole a lot, and they still won 64 games. Still best team in the Western Conference. his numbers was insane. I think Luca led the league in scoring, but I'm it's gonna be splitting hairs between SGA and Wimby, but they just gonna lean towards SGA again. Best record, didn't have his full cast of characters, and they still did what they went out and what they did. So I mean, it's cool. I'm fine with SGA getting it.
Yeah, me too. But I may even see OKC win another championship because
They look the best because they deep. They literally can go 10 deep, 9 deep, and they can shoot. You got the MVP. Jalen Williams, J Dub is a bona fide second option. They gonna cakewalk to the conference finals because this is gonna be a sweep in the first round, and I don't care if they play the Rockets in the second round. They probably win that in 5.
yeah. Um, NBA playoffs tipped off. You know, I'm gonna do my best to watch it, but I got a question for you. We just found out before we change the subject. We just found out that Charles Barkley and Michael Jordan,
Mm-hmm.
after the season is over, they decided they're gonna get back. They could get in this buddy thing. You know, I guess they gonna talk it out,
Uh-huh.
and they're gonna do it after the season's over on the golf course. I got a question for you.
Uh-huh.
Would you rather watch Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley on the golf course,
Yeah.
or would you rather watch simultaneously? Got to pick
Uh-huh.
one. The NBA Finals.
Yeah, I'm going with Mike all day. I mean, Mike got me watching NASCAR racing. You know what I'm saying? And they just
Yeah,
won again yesterday. He won again. So yeah, I'm going
yeah,
with Mike all day.
yeah. Him and Charles might move the needle and compete with the NBA Finals if they were to, have play a little couple rounds, some rounds of golf simultaneously. I think they may even beat the NBA Finals in ratings. So the NBA definitely got some things to work on, but the playoffs have tipped off. They have a lot to prove to us as viewers if we can
Still ain't got
find
a
them.
playoff sign on the floor, by the way.
Oh yeah, I checked that out. The playoff sign is actually out of bounds.
Right, yeah.
It's not as visual as it used to be. That was one of the criticisms that they had last season, and they found a way to correct that graphically. I don't think if you were in the arena you didn't see it.
Right.
But I think
Do it in the final. Yeah.
if you paying big money to go see an NBA Finals game or an NBA playoff game, uh, Eastern Conference, Western Conference, when it should say it on the floor. That's what you pay for. That should be part of the ambiance. That should be what you see. That should
I
be an
think they bringing the
atmosphere.
trophy back. Remember how they had the trophy at half court?
Yeah,
I think they bringing that back for the finals. And I know they put the logo on the floor, the finals logo on the court digitally. But yeah, we got to get this back on the floor. They don't even
yeah,
have it on the stanchion on the bottom of the hoop where it say playoffs.
yeah. And see, the
People ain't
thing
even wearing
about it
black
is,
socks and black shoes no more.
well, the shoe thing is all over the shoes all over the place. They've been that way for a while. They definitely ain't going back to the black shoes in the playoffs. You know, everyone on the team wearing the same color shoes. That's been over a long time ago. That ain't coming back. But another thing too, we sitting here talking about the playoffs, and they got this big push for the in season tournament. Now
Did they change the whole floor for it? Well, keep going.
they changed them. That's you right. They changed it. They even risk the players' safety by painting the whole floor a different color. You know what I mean? Just some think it was not too safe the way they present the in season tournaments floor. But here we are for the playoffs, and the representation for the playoffs is very small, not very recognizable, and they need to make some improvements on just that. Also, the games are going to be all over the place. You're going to have ESPN ABC,
Prime.
Prime, well, Amazon, and NBC and Peacock. That's a lot of different carriers for NBA basketball. Another thing, you know, I like to say that the basketball season ended on the first Monday, the first Monday of April,
Yeah, it did.
with the national championship game. Michigan Wolverines defeating Yukon Huskies. I always say that the basketball season is officially over with at that time because from that point on, we shifting towards entertainment, and that's the way I feel it now. I mean, I'm gonna do my best to watch it. Hopefully, they're gonna be competitive and can change my opinion on the NBA playoffs. But my biggest criticism is the first round. That's pretty much it. Um, and you know, going back to Championship Monday for the first time in a long time, you had a championship game going on Monday night in NCAA, and you had four NBA games scheduled that same day. Now I don't know if you remember this, but me and a buddy talked about this. Now, in years past, you never had that. When the national championship of basketball was being played in college, it would took center stage for basketball in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the NFL and NCAA football. National championships are being played. That's the only thing going on that night. But see, the NBA is under so much pressure with all these deals, with all these different revenue deals they got pushed in. Now they got to force these games out, and they're going to compete with the marquee games of the night. Now the question is, will they be willing to do that next season? Because there were some spectators and media that actually called them out on it. It's going to be interesting to see next season when the NCAA national championship game, which will be in Detroit, maybe a Michigan Wolverines will be making a run back to the Final Four because it will be in Detroit next season. But
Yeah,
the interesting thing is going to be, will the NBA schedule games on Championship Monday for college basketball next season?
they need.
We would rather watch Charles Barkley and Michael Jordan play golf during the NBA finals. But maybe between now and June they can change their mind.
Yeah, I mean, didn't the NFL the first year of the college football playoff? Them games was on Saturday. Remember, the NFL had games that day, and I
Yeah,
was like, "What are y'all
but they they
doing?"
they they, they straightened that out. They
Yeah,
straightened that out. That was
yeah,
that was probably one of the first years that happened, and then they made sure they didn't. It didn't happen. It didn't happen this past season, and that's what I'm saying. Will the NBA, clean that up next season?
they better.
Because this is their minor league system that they wanted to kind of coincide with one another, and not compete on high stake nights, high marquee nights, because here we are with the NBA playoffs. They pretty much got center stage. If they start, if the playoffs can't outrate Major League Baseball, we have a problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You, you nailed it with that one.
And also the NHL hockey is going on as well with the Stanley Cup playoffs. If the NBA cannot outrate those two commodities, then they have a bigger problem than we think.
I would be willing to bet that the NHL, the Stanley Cup playoffs, do better numbers in the first round than the NBA. Just the first round, I'm just saying, but I
All
can see
right,
that happening.
all right. We got some research to do in the next couple of weeks. We'll have to take a note of that. Um, NFL draft is coming up. Are you excited about that?
I'm excited to get to it now because all the mock drafts, all the potential, trades that they throwing out there, and ain't nothing really happening other than Cincinnati trading for, was it Dexter Lawrence the other day. I think they gave up the 10th pick to go get him, which was weird because y'all just had Trey Hendrickson, and y'all didn't want to pay him, but y'all go get Dexter Lawrence, who makes 28 million a year, and you gave him an extra year, and you gave up the 10th pick. Like I don't,
Hey, well,
I don't
Thursday night it'll be, the draft will be the Bears on the clock, and the draft will be, the
25,
Raiders are on the
right?
clock. The Bears, I'm gonna run this down for you. So Will Bates, I'm gonna send my man. Shout out to my man Will Bates. I know you're probably gonna see this later on down the line. Send him a shout out. Dwayne Rancifer, the big guy, Michael Thompson, Cutter Pack Man,
Yo, yo.
all the Bear fans that I can think of right now. The Taylor Made Boys. Let me get you up to speed to the Bears for this draft weekend. Thursday night, you're right. Bears in round one they have 7 picks overall. They got the number one, they got the number 25th pick in the first round. Then they got in the second round on day two, they got number 57 and number 60. Third round, they got pick number 89. Round four, they have pick 129. And in round seven, they have picks 239 and 241. Now, those are subject to change because Ryan Poles may trade away or
They
pick
got
up a
no
few
fifth
more.
and sixth round picks right now, right?
They got picks
They
in
got
round one, round two, round three, round four, and round seven. No fifth and
okay.
sixth picks at this point. They got 2 picks in round two. They got 2 picks in round seven. They got the 25th pick overall in round one. I'm gonna go back over that again for all you guys that's gonna be having your war room ready this weekend. So, round one, the picks on Thursday night. The Bears have pick number 25 in the first round. Round two on day two, they have picks 57 and 60. Round three, they have pick number 89. Round four, I believe that's day three. But round four, they have pick number 129. And on round seven, the last round of NFL draft, they have picks 239 and 241. Just to give you a little bit of indication of what the Bears have coming up in the NFL draft starting this Thursday night. Now, unless you got something to add about that, I want to get into some Fernando Mendoza. And is
I,
he a system quarterback or not?
I would be shocked if the Bears don't pick in the fifth or sixth round. If they
Yeah,
don't
they'll probably squeeze
maneuver up
their way.
and get up in the fifth or sixth round. Because having 2 7 round picks, I know what's our running back from Rutgers?
Manunga.
Yeah, was a 7 round pick last year, but
Mm-hmm.
for the holes that they got defensively, especially, and they still got to get a left tackle. I can't see them passing on the fifth round.
Yeah, they might, especially if it's somebody on the board they really want
Yeah,
in those. I can see them making a move to get into those 2 rounds. Now, my question is, do you think this is a Ryan Poles draft, or do you think this a Ben Johnson draft? Who do you think calling the shots in Chicago?
we'll we will know after they make that 25th pick. If it's offense, it's a Ben Johnson draft. If
Mm-hmm.
it's defense, Ryan Poles is working on the defense this year. But
Him and Dennis Allen
yeah,
are
we,
collaborating.
we
Mm-hmm.
gonna know it's gonna be clear as day once they make that 25th pick. If they take another wide receiver, I think they're gonna take a wide receiver in the draft at some point. But if they take
Yeah,
one at 25, you know what time it
and I think if they take one at 25, the fan base is gonna be pissed.
is.
Depending on what's available too. But I think this is the Chicago Bear fan base is pretty knowledgeable. I think they know what this team needs, and if they take a wide receiver, I can see them if they took an offensive lineman left tackle.
That'll be cool. That'll be
I
cool.
think that will be a good pick. But other than that, you need edge rusher, maybe even a defensive tackle,
Tack,
a really good run stopper.
a
Uh, eh,
safety.
yeah, a safety. They got a lot of picks on defense that they could go that they may need to spend their 25th pick on. Um, I couldn't think of anything they would need outside offensive line to be using that 25th pick in the first round of the NFL draft. That's pretty much all I got. But I want to mention that because I know my man Will Bates, getting geared up for that on Thursday night. The big guy Michael Thompson and my man the super fans Dwayne Rassifer and uh, my man Pastor Eric Boone. Who Eric Boone? I'm gonna shout out Pastor because he has a book he released in the last week or so. I haven't spoken to him, but I'm gonna shout him out tonight. I got to get around to get to it, and I think he's recovering from an Achilles injury as well. So shout out Pastor Boone. I'll be there to see you. And and I think the name of the book is "The Proof is in the Promise." It's the name of the book. The proof is in the promise. So if you're listening to me tonight and you have not, I'm gonna get with Pastor Boone real soon. And, check on my dog, see how his health is going with that foot. I saw him with that foot propped up at a book signing. So he got a lot going on. He dealing with that Achilles and he pumping out that book. So the proof is in the promise. And I think I know he appreciate that plug. So um now, first overall pick in the NFL draft. Most people would think is going to be Fernando Mendoza. And I think I know what you think of this guy, of this quarterback, Indiana University. Uh, some would say he led them to the national championship. I think it was a lot of different facets. It's a team game. The defense was good. The special teams was good. And the offense was good. And he was good. So, in your opinion, Fernando Mendoza, most people think he's going to the uh, Las Vegas Raiders. What's your thoughts on Fernando Mendoza?
It's I like the Raiders picking him better now since they got Kirk Cousins. If they gonna let him learn,
And develop.
I right. We Big Ten country. Michigan. Uh, I just didn't see what everybody else was seeing in Mendoza. I mean, this was supposed to be a strong draft class. Drew Aller, but Drew Aller, Cade Klubnik. Trying to think of some other quarterbacks that was supposed. Ty Simpson. You know,
Nessmeyer came into the regular season hot and for LSU
and then he fell off.
and kind of fell off. He maybe even had some injuries, and then the
Arch
kid
Manning.
down at Arch Manning. I mean,
Yeah, we was. This was
uh,
supposed to be a really good.
he hadn't really proved anything going into the season. I mean, he was a reach, I believe, in the first place. There wasn't a lot we had seen on Arch Manning, but Nessmeyer was probably the hottest one coming into this season.
Right, right.
Just going off based on what he had did the previous season. Nessmeyer was pretty much the guy for LSU, and then the kid at the young man at Miami that
Carson Beck.
Carson Beck,
Yeah.
the quarterback, the Indiana beat in the national championship game. So, in preparing for this draft, and I had been contemplating to kind of check into Mendoza, and I'm going to ask myself and ask you: is he a system guy? Because Kirsten Getty put together a really good system on all phases: offense, defense, and special teams, and he also brought a core of guys with him from, I believe, was it James Madison University.
Yeah.
He brought a core of guys, maybe just under, maybe about 8 guys he brought in, and they had a really good 2 seasons at IU, and they got into the playoffs. His first season was in his first season at IU, where they lost to Notre Dame in the first round,
Right.
and then in the second round, and in the second season they win the Big Ten. They go all the way. They had some, and they had an impressive. Um, championship run in the college football championship. But what I saw was a good football team. Now, when I dive into Fernando Mendoza's uh, stats, let's just look at, for instance, let's just look at the Big Ten championship game. He was 15 of 23 for 222 yards, one touchdown, one interception against Ohio State. Now, that was a defensive battle because the final score of that game was 13-10. Indiana rushed 34 times for 118 yards. Balance, not a lot of scoring. Two pretty good defenses going at it. Um, Probably shut down what many consider to be two pretty high-powered offenses at that time. Then we go into round one of the playoffs against Bama. Here's a Fernando Mendoza stats of that: 14 to 16, 192 yards and three touchdowns. Indiana rushed for 218 yards and two touchdowns. Okay, let's remember the rush. They rushed for 218 yards. Pretty good ground attack for Indiana. I didn't break it down player for player. I just wanted to get the total stats of the rushing attempts and the total rushing yards. 218 yards rushing against Alabama. They dominated Alabama in that game, if you remember. And then they go against Oregon. They win that game. Well, they dominated Alabama 38-3. That was the final score of that game. Then they beat Oregon 56-22. I think the very first play of that game was a pick six, if I'm not mistaken. So scored a defensive touchdown. I'm just briefing it, but here's Fernando Mendoza stats for that game: 17 passes for 120 yards, for 177 yards, and five touchdowns. Indiana rushed for 185 yards against Oregon. Now, defense played spectacular. Running game was solid. Fernando Mendoza had a good game, five touchdowns. Here we are. National championship game against Miami. Fernando Mendoza, 16 of 27, 186 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He did run for a touchdown. Here, they had a special teams touchdown for Indiana, and the defense had a key pick at the end of the game to close it out.
Yeah.
So, like I said, very good football team is Mendoza. The rushing yards for that game against Miami, Indiana rushed 45 times for 131 yards. Two touchdowns, one of those being Mendoza's. So I ask you now, is Mendoza a system guy based on this, on the games that really matter? And I believe if the Raiders are going to pick him, they must follow this formula.
Does the name J.J. McCarthy ring a bell? J.J. McCarthy?
Well,
What
the
I'm
difference
just saying,
between JJ
but
and Mendoza, JJ he wasn't asked to do as much as Mendoza was
but he
asked
was
to
on a
do.
really good team.
Yes, he
Powerful
was.
running game with Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. The defense was shutting people down. Special teams was great. They won the national championship. All JJ had to do was make a few plays, make here or there, and then all of a sudden he's a first round pick. He's a top 10 pick. And I've been saying since he got drafted, I don't know what JJ McCarthy is. And it's the same kind of thing. Apples to apples, oranges, whatever. It's fruit. Was JJ McCarthy a system guy? Can you put the offense on him and say, JJ, go win it? No, you can't. Because you need
Not right now.
Right. You need those out. He got Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and one of the top tight ends in the game. And he hasn't figured it out yet. And what's my man, the running back that used to be with the Packers, number 33, Jones? Is it Jones? So he got a running game, but he was not.
Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm.
He was
well,
not
in my opinion, Coach O'Connell does not lean on the running game like I think he should for for
For JJ. Yeah.
JJ to be successful because that was the formula for him being successful at Michigan. I'm a firm believer in do what do what made the make do the things that make the quarterback successful at least his first 2 years. Revert back to the things that made him successful in college. And I never felt like even when Donald was in Minnesota, I never felt like Coach O'Connell ever really leaned on the running game as much. And then I thought he was asking both Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy to do too much at times. Now, I Jones is a capable running back, but I believe Jones was injured
He's
year
injured a lot
before
this
last,
year. Yeah.
but this year he wasn't called upon enough. And then they also had that the other running
George
back that they
Mason.
got from San
Yeah, George
Francisco.
Mason.
Yeah, so they had two reliable running backs. I don't think they asked them to do as much as they should have, considering that JJ McCarthy was in his first year playing as the starting quarterback in the NFL. I believe if they would have leaned on the running game a little bit more, they probably could have asked JJ to do more down the stretch. But he did get injured. He did get banged up. He was in and out of the lineup. But
Brain concussion. Yeah.
yeah, he had quite a few setbacks on his health. But now to get back to it, Fernando Mendoza needs. I don't see him being spectacular. I just he's just going to be have to do what the typical quarterback doesn't do. Don't make mistakes. Take care of football. Balance attack. Make the big plays when they appear. When you get the opportunity, you got to make the big plays. I don't know if he has anyone specific in Las Vegas outside of Ashton Genty, young running back, which they probably gonna lean on him. Get that offensive line together. I think they just picked up the offensive lineman from Baltimore. They brought him in. So yeah, I think they're gonna have to lean heavy on the offensive line, but they did bring in Kirk Cousins. I do think that's a good thing for Fernando Mendoza to sit
Yeah.
for as long as he can. If he can sit this year, now don't get me wrong, because we all know that if
First
the
round.
Raiders aren't
Yeah.
competitive in the first 4 to 8 weeks, we're gonna see Fernando Mendoza
Yeah.
for whatever reason. I mean, Kirk Cousins may get the start. Uh, uh, if he don't get injured, we'll see. We'll see Fernando Mendoza if he's not playing well, if they're not winning, because Kirk Cousins can be playing well, but if they're not winning, they're going to rush the development. We want to see the development of the quarterback now because we're out of the hunt. Let's see what the quarterback can give us. So I think it's a good thing, like you said, that they went out, they got Kirk Cousins. Contract's kind of confusing to most people, but it's just really a 1 year deal where he's going to be making some, like, I don't get into the numbers too tough, but I think it's like 20 something million. But I think it's a 5 year deal for like 100 and something. Like I said, I don't get into the court. I don't get into contracts that heavy. I watch the games, and that's pretty much why I leave it. So but I think it's going to be a good move to have Kirk Cousins around. Um, Now that wraps up my NFL draft. I wanted to bring up, give you guys an opportunity to know what the Bears might have at stake, where they picks lay, and then I just had my opinions on Fernando Mendoza, and then Ty Simpson's name was even rising at some point in time. They're saying he may be the second pick in the draft. Now, I haven't really done a big deep dive on Ty Simpson, and I'm not going to. I'm just going to enjoy Thursday night when the NFL draft is up. I'm gonna enjoy it, and I'm gonna take it all in. Um, Now you had a chance. If it feels good to be a Michigan Wolverine, am I correct?
Yeah, but you know what makes the world turn around here? It's the football team. Now.
Yeah. But see, we have not since the basketball team
Yeah.
went and won the national championship game. And I'm going to spin that into spring football. But you are right. You had the Michigan Wolverines winning the national championship. Also, I didn't have them winning the national championship. I think I had Arizona. They took Arizona out. But the most improved, the most outstanding player was a guy I thought had to play well, and he ended up playing well. Even when Yaxel Lindenborg went down, it was Cadeau that held that team together, and he got the most outstanding player of the national championship, national the Final Four. He was
Hmm.
well deserving of that. Michigan, I think I mentioned earlier. Hey man, I don't know what they're doing with this transfer portal or whatever, but you got to consider them. I mean, the national
Dusty got it
championship
figured
will
out.
be in Detroit next year. So,
Yeah, Dusty got it figured out. Shout out to Yax because I know he had sprained his MCL and the ankle in the game versus Arizona, and he came back and played in that game, and then he came back and played in the national championship game. Even if he was just a decoy, I tip my hat to him for going out there and playing. And he wasn't his normal self, but he was able to affect the game
yeah.
enough to be, on the floor. He wasn't a liability or nothing like that. So, but like I was saying, pretty much every time we broke up, talked about college basketball, I just thought from top to bottom, Michigan was the best team in the country. And they played in the Big Ten, which was probably the best conference in the country. They undefeated on the road. Every game they was winning by double digits. So it was unfortunate they didn't win the Big Ten tournament. They lost in the championship game, but we'll take cutting down the nets at the Final Four.
Mhm. And they got a chance. They retooled that team. They got a chance to do it at home, but I think the people down the road in Lansing, Michigan, may have something to say about that too. Time is old, but so Michigan, we're gonna see if they're gonna come into national championship contention next season. But like I said, I think the Spartans gonna have something to say about that with college basketball next season. College basketball got some cleaning up they need to do. But with that being said, I think the level of play on the court didn't disappoint. I mean, at times some of the teams had trouble scoring, but that's basketball. You know what I mean? When you see teams competing on both ends of the floor, I mean, sometimes you have some rough shooting nights. But my thing is, as long as you have the ultimate effort on both teams, playing at a championship level, giving up a championship effort. I mean, you may have some games where the ball's not going in the basket
And
as much
that
as
was
you
the
would like.
championship game for Michigan too, because I think they had scored over what 80 points in every game in the tournament, and the
Yeah.
championship game was their lowest scoring output.
Yeah,
But when
UConn
watching,
has something to do with that, though.
yeah, but
Yeah,
watching that game, I never felt threatened by
yeah,
UConn. It was like they ain't got enough.
yeah, yeah, and they would just always they would always keep it once they got to like the midway point of the second half. I think they always kept a 5 to 7 point lead.
Yeah,
Never really somebody was stepping up to make a play, but Cadeau really held that team together, especially when Lindenborg went down. But when Lindenborg went down against Arizona, Cadeau had a great 2 games, but there were several guys that stepped up. Mora, Cadeau just assisted to Mora for 26 points. I can't remember what Cadeau had in that Arizona game with Michigan beat Arizona, but Mora was the biggest benefactor. He benefited big from Cadeau running the team that night. He had like 26 points, a lot of pick and roll action, and he was throwing it up at the rim, and Mora was going to get it. Uh, a lot of guys stepped up for Michigan. I mean, on offensive glass, on the defensive end, big shout out to the Michigan Wolverines. Now, my question to you is that the best Michigan team ever?
no, not even close. And that when they started talking, and started talking about that in as they got closer to the championship, it was starting to piss me off a little bit because that team is not nearly. They was deeper.
Yeah.
They was
Yeah.
deeper than the Fab Five, but talent wise, no. I mean, the
Yeah.
Fab Five, three of them played in the NBA and had long careers. I think Jimmy King got drafted, but he didn't make it, on the same level as Jawan, Chris, and Jalen. Like, come, I, you could argue that nobody on this team is going to the. I think Yax will go, but he'll be a role player. He ain't gonna be.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody.
You can make that argument. When you go, okay, we know about the Fab Five. They went to the national championship 2 years in a row, 92 and 93. They
So
lost the
those
first
are that.
season to Duke
Yeah.
and in 92, and they lost the second season to North Carolina in 93. But we can't forget that 89 team with Glenn Rice, Ramiro Robinson, Lloyd Vault, Terry Mills, Sean Higgins.
Was they? Is this Michigan team better than the '89 team?
That
They
team had
deeper.
some pros.
Yeah, that's what I'm
That
saying.
team had some pros.
Yeah.
Ramiro Robinson was strong, floor general. He could climb that ladder. He'll dunk on you. He can run the team. He probably wasn't as talented as Cadeau. He wasn't as good a shooter as Cadeau, but he was physically imposing, and he ran the team. Lloyd Vault and Terry Mills and Glenn Rice. Glenn Rice, I would take him over Lindenborg any day because Glenn Rice could flat out shoot that
He
thing.
had a burner.
So yeah, so I don't know that this probably ain't the best team. And then I think they had some other guys come off the bench. Rip Demetrius Caleb who came off the bench for that '89 squad, and but yeah, I had to go with the '89 squad. But talent wise, you got to go with the Fab Five.
Yeah.
I
Not
mean,
even close.
Jawan, Jalen, and Chris, and then I think Ray and Jimmy kind of sacrificed their game for the other three guys to flourish, and they actually stayed all 4 years in Michigan, and I think Ray. I don't know if Ray was a pro, but I think Jimmy was a pro. So
Jimmy got drafted by the Raptors.
yeah, 4 out of the 5 guys that we know for the Fab Five were pros at some point. I don't know if
They
we can
went to
say that
the
about this team.
Elite, was it Elite 8 or Sweet 16? After Chris left, the next year, I think they went to the Elite 8 or Sweet
Yeah,
16. So they made it out
that
the first
that
weekend.
was '94. That was the season Arkansas won the national
Yeah.
championship, and I can't remember who they lost to. And I want to say I don't know if they lost to Arkansas. I know one of the seasons they lost to UCLA, and UCLA went out to win a national championship in '95. So yeah, but 92 and 93, the Fab Five went to the national championship, lost both to Duke and then to 92, and then lost to North Carolina in 93. But 4 out of the 5 freshmen, Fab Five of 1991 freshmen, incoming freshmen, 92, 91, they came out of high school. 4 out of those 5 guys were pros. So that was probably the most talented group.
They lost in
Uh,
Elite 8 to Arkansas.
okay, in 94.
Yeah.
And then in 95, who did they lose to?
Uh,
So 94, Jimmy Jackson and
Everybody was there but
they
Chris in
were
'94.
okay. So Jimmy Jackson, not Jackson and King,
Yeah.
were they there 95 or yeah, they were there 95, right?
Um, I think
Because I
that's
want
what
to say
I think.
they ended up losing to the eventual champions in 95. They lost to the eventual champions in 94. Then they lost to the eventual champions in 95 because UCLA with Ed O'Bannon and Charles O'Bannon won in 95. They beat Arkansas in the national championship game in 95. So you can say that
90,
5-5 group lost to the eventual champion every year for the next 4 years.
95. It was Ray Jackson, Jimmy King, Maurice Taylor was there. Maceo
Now I'm,
Boston.
I'm just talking about Ray Jackson and Jimmy King
Yeah,
won the '95 squad. Now I believe they
yeah.
lost to Arkansas in.
In 90, the year before, they lost to Arkansas.
Okay, all right. So I was wrong. So well '95 that's what I meant. '95 they lost to UCLA. Am I right?
I can find out for you.
Yeah, find that out. Then we'll move on to the spring football because I know you had a chance to check it out, and uh, and I want to ask you some questions because maybe you may have a few concerns about your Michigan
I
Wolverines when it comes to spring
do.
football
I do.
and what we got to look forward to coming this fall.
Yeah, I
So,
do. See, they
what they do in
lost. They
'95?
lost in the first round of the Midwest. They lost to the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers,
Oh wow.
82-76.
Okay, so I
Yeah,
was wrong on that one. I thought maybe they had lost to the '95 eventual champs, which was UCLA. Charles O'Bannon, Ed O'Bannon, and I forget. I think Tyus Etney was on that team as well. Left guard, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. But all right. Okay. So we talked about NFL draft. We talked about Fernando Mendola. We talked about the Bears. Let's get back to a little bit more football of the college portion. You got there was only two teams I had a chance to look at, and I didn't look at a whole lot of Ohio State, but I'm gonna name drop on Ohio State. Um, but what's your thoughts on Michigan, man? Kyle Whittingham going out, kept it very vanilla. But
yeah,
I thought it was interesting that Tommy Carr got a lot of snaps in this game.
yeah.
What you think of Bryce, man? Bryce Underwood.
Bryce didn't look like he had improved really since the last time we saw him in a meaningful game, which was concerning to me. I know his stats was 3 out of 9 for 22 yards, and I know they had teams mixed up, so he wasn't playing with all the ones. But still, I mean, you the $10 million guy. They went out and got you. You supposed to be the freshman that can be able to carry this, and to not really see any improve. I think that's what we was looking for, just to see if there was an improvement. 12 still he was pointing out that he's still throwing the ball the same way, like kind of side. And I said, well, that just may be his natural,
Throwing motion.
throwing it like that. But it was just
Mm-hmm.
he was forcing the ball into double coverages and stuff, taking some unnecessary risks. And I just was like, okay, this
Yeah.
ain't looking too hot. Now, as far as what they put out there on tape as for the offensive philosophy, I didn't expect it looked the
Like
same.
hairball.
Yeah, it looked the same as it's looked the last 6-7 years in the spring game. So
Yeah, well, this is the thing, man. Now Bryce Underwood's coming in on his own reputation. Great high school career, big time talent. I mean, he earned it. He earned it. They paid him. He's there. You know. Now, in fairness, uh, offensive coordinator Jason Beck said he's never had a talent like Bryce. He's never coached this type of quarterback. So he's trying to build an offense around what he does well. So maybe that's the reason why he didn't show us a whole lot or didn't have a lot to show in the spring game because they're still trying to figure out what works for Bryce and his skill set. But this is what Bryce has to contend with. Lloyd Carr's grandson,
yeah.
uh, Tommy Carr.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and he got a bulk of the snaps in the spring game, and I was wondering, what do you, number 12 and Cutter, think about this? Were you impressed with Tommy at all?
Not
Tommy
impressed,
Carr.
but he played well enough to notice like he was putting the ball where it needed to be. He was
Mm,
playing quarterback.
okay.
So it led you to believe like if Bryce don't come on with it, they could
Yeah.
start calling for this
Yeah.
guy to start playing. So,
Yeah.
and I'm saying the second game of the season is versus Oklahoma. We gonna know everything we need to know about Bryce then. At
Yeah.
that
Yeah. That Oklahoma game is second game of the season.
Yep, at the
at
house.
Michigan. So instead of him going to Norman this year, he'll have the Sooners at the big house. That was a game you expected him to play well in last year. Now he's going with a new offensive coordinator, a new head coach, and we'll see what Bryce can do. Another name. I mean, it's a lot of lineage going on at Ohio. I mean, at Michigan, man, because if Tommy Carr don't get you, that's Lloyd Carr's grandson, former Michigan Wolverine head coach.
Yeah,
Now, if he don't get you, Kirk Herbstreit's son is over there too. And I'm
yeah,
talking about Chase Herbstreit. Now he didn't get as much, he didn't get as many reps, you know, as like I
Tom.
said,
Yeah,
Tommy dominated the reps, but Chase got some reps at the end, and Herbstreit, Kirk, dad was in the house. So you know he got to be thinking, hey, between now and the first day of practice, we get 2 weeks into the season, we got some decisions to make.
yeah, yeah,
Maybe putting him in the transfer portal. So the competition is there for Bryce, be it by namesake or by ability.
yeah,
He's got some high expectations, and the Michigan basketball program putting the pressure on the football program to, you know, to stay competitive. Do you think that Michigan basketball championship put pressure on the? Hey, Kyle, let's keep the standard. Let's
yeah.
dominate. Let's go out and win championships.
Because the kind of the thought process is like you got the team to do it. Look what you was doing at Utah. Now you got
Mm-hmm.
an even better team, and they was 9-3 last year, and Sharon was doing whatever Sharon was doing, and they was 9-3. So you should
Yeah.
at least be able to go through the season 9-3. I personally think they're gonna go 10-2,
Yeah.
make playoffs, and then we'll see what happened. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Bryce Underwood. I know you remember Devin Gardner.
Yep.
Devin Gardner came in with the same type of hype, and he was gonna save the program. And then when he got his chance, he played a couple good games versus Notre Dame. And after that, do you really remember him playing well? He was kind of a letdown. So that's what I said after we had watched the game. I said, "This is
One of the biggest things about Devin Gardner is I remember him changing his jersey number.
to 98." Don't remind me.
That's the biggest thing I remember about him. And he changed his jersey number from 12,
He
right?
was he was 7, 12 because he played wide receiver for a hot second,
Okay.
and then 98.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, hey, like I said, Bryce, hey, you might be hearing some footsteps by the coach and by a couple big name lineage behind them.
Yeah.
And anybody else? Were you impressed with anybody else in the spring game? Offense, defense, whatever. What you think? What you
They
got?
wasn't it wasn't live enough as far as because I know the first quarter was tagged. They wasn't even tackling really. So I wanted to see what Savion Hyder, the number one back in the country, looked like. He looked like he got some speed, looked like he got some wiggle, physical specimen, but I need to see it versus live action. I need to see the game flow. I need to see, how they calling it against the defense because I feel like I'm the real offensive coordinator for Michigan. So I got to see game action before I really make a judgment on this team. So, but we'll know. We'll know
Yeah.
after week 2 versus Oklahoma.
And they kicked the season off on September the 5th, I believe. I forget who it was against, but I'm pretty sure you know.
UTEP, I believe, is the first game.
Okay.
It's either
We
UTEP
know
or
we
Western
know
Michigan.
for sure that's week number 2 is against the Oklahoma
Oh
Sooners.
yeah, yeah.
All right. So yeah, man, but after I watched that, I say, wait a minute. I found out that Ohio State had their spring game. There's only two things I came away with that because I haven't finished watching it yet. Was based on what I'm hearing now, some people saying there may be a quarterback controversy in Columbus
Really?
because kid named freshman Tevion St. Clair was impressive, and what's your boy named Julian Sand?
Yeah.
Not so much.
Okay.
So we'll see. Spring football. Right. Like right now, we going to NFL draft, NBA playoffs. That's what's going to lead us into the NBA NFL training camp. But I want to talk spring football with you tonight because I just want to know what you thought about your Michigan Wolverines,
Yeah,
because that's gonna
I
be
ain't
the
even had.
last time. That's gonna be the last time we see him until it's real.
Yeah, I ain't even had a chance to scout the enemy because I was so just
Yeah,
disappointed in
yeah.
what Bryce looked like.
Well, I'm gonna give you a quick. So I remember the maize and blue game. It was it a six? Was it a 7-6?
Yeah,
7-6 victory by
I think the maze.
Mays.
Yeah,
Well, let me tell you this. Ohio State was throwing touchdowns, baby. They
yeah.
were throwing touchdowns. So either that defense is not that good, or that offense is like because they scored some points in that one. And they had a star-studded cast of alumni in the house, and because they got a Super Bowl champion that came back, the wide receiver from Seattle Seahawks
Oh,
came in the
Jackson.
house.
Yeah,
Yeah,
JSC.
Jackson, he rung the. I think they got a bell they ring out there, but I had to check it out a little bit. I haven't watched it all, but I want to take out some time to talk about some spring football with you. And until next time, man, we got these NBA playoffs that have tipped off, and they're gonna hopefully they'll keep our interest. If
Hopefully.
not, we can always look forward to Charles Barkley and Michael Jordan playing golf at the end of the season. Thanks for watching the game tonight.
Like and subscribe. We out.